Club Random Podcast. My goat Bill Maher is at it again from 2 days ago.
First time I ever went, I would not go to Israel. I was convinced if I stepped terra firma on Israel, I stepped off the plane onto the tarmac, a war would break out.
Why?
I don't know why. It's a tick.
That's more than a tick.
Yeah.
That's psychotic.
Yeah, well, thank you.
What? I mean, why you stepping off the plane?
No, not me. Just
just bad timing?
bad timing.
Well,
I wouldn't cause the war.
Oh, I see.
I would just be in the middle of
I thought they were like, the funds.
Hey,
it's on.
Henry's here.
Allahu Akbar, the funds.
Really?
This is the last straw.
Oh, my God.
The funds is in Israel. Now we have to get them into the sea.
Yeah.
Oh.
What about their prime minister? Are we allowed to talk about that?
Of course, you can talk about anything. That's what I love about this.
I really think that he knows if, God forbid, he steps down or the war is over, he's in jail.
I mean, that's possible, and we hear that a lot. I mean, it's interesting.
I believe it to my core.
Yeah, well, you don't know what's, I mean, that could be the case. You don't know what's in a person's heart. Whether that's true or not, you can still be supportive of the decisions he's making, which I am.
Okay.
It's very naive, I think, that this could go any other way.
Right.
And any other country in the world would not be expected to act any differently. If you get attacked, you get to fight back. And the war doesn't end when you start fighting back, which they always want with Israel. You know,
Bill Maher presenting himself as a guy who's like anti-all religion, only to actively commit himself to a theocratic ethno-state is the funniest thing. Okay, this guy is supposed to be like, the atheist. I hate all religion. I hate all religion, okay? I'm Bill Maher. Religion is, if you believe it, you're... Except I love the theocratic ethno-state that is on a good day and doing it on a bad day because they're doing it to other religious people that I hate a lot more. I'm Bill Maher. It's so funny.
somebody...
You know what? A lot of what you're saying is true. However, I think that, you know, there are parents, there are families that are hurting because the hostages are not.
Yes, and it's the job of a statesman and a leader and a prime minister to think long term and not just short term. Like, if they don't...
Yeah, that's what Benjamin Netanyahu's doing. He's thinking long-term final solution, not short-term final solution. Thanks, Bill Maher. Yeah. He definitely calls himself culturally Christian. Yeah, he is so... His dick riding of Israel is crazy, okay? It is crazy.
Eliminate...
They're not going to eliminate. This is an idea, not a group of people.
That's a thing.
It's not...
What do you mean? That's literally... He's right. Listen to the Fonz.
Well, let me tell you something. They've said that for years. I just read, I think, Sam Harris on this, and he said it right.
I know Sam.
Okay, great.
I like
love
Sam.
Great. I'm glad we both do.
Yeah.
And he said this thing we've heard a lot of times. You can't, an idea. He said, well, we did after World War II.
Until now.
We did a lot of...
What's really funny about Bill Maher, as far as I understand, is that, like, and I didn't know this until later, okay? I never knew this about him, but I guess neither did he, ironically enough. Bill Maher's not Jewish. I never thought he was Jewish. I thought he was a Christian. I thought he was an Irish guy, okay? And then I found out that he was Jewish, but also that he didn't know he was Jewish either, for the record. He was raised Catholic until the age of 12 when he found out he was Jewish. He's raised Catholic. So, like, I always was like, this was my proof. Like, Christian Zionists are so goddamn annoying. They just, like, hype up Israel way more than, like, American Jews do. Like, they always outflank American Jews on the issue. It's like a white guy telling a black person about, you know what I mean? And yes, you can tell he was raised Catholic. Yes, he has a lot of like, I think, former Catholic attitudes, if that makes sense. Like, he has, I don't know, well, alcoholism to be one. He is so genteel. Like, his vibes, his attitude, like it is so, like I was shocked when I found out. Okay, so he is a Zionist Christian, for the record, even though he's not a Christian.
Japanese, and that was unfortunate.
Right.
But I mean, if you do enough lunatics, and Japan was led by lunatics,
Right.
you know, died of the last person and a lot of.
It's like, first of all, before people go, I thought he was Jewish. That's disrespectful, okay, to the Jewish people, specifically American Jews. If he was Jewish, he'd be a little bit funnier, okay? There's no way. I mean, this is like marginally at the very least, okay? Like this man's level of humor, counterpoint Seinfeld, great example, okay? Jerry Seinfeld, very unfunny, except still like understands the capacity or the word structure of a joke, okay? While Seinfeld is a humorless hack for the most part, he still fundamentally understands what a joke is. Bill Maher has never understood that. His entire career revolves around being a condescending, smarmy, pervy, alcoholic, Catholic, former Catholic, atheist asshole.
Suicide and all that, very similar to what we see with radical Muslims.
Right.
Suicide, cult of martyrdom.
Right.
Okay, so Japan became our good friend. So let's not pretend that you can't actually get to the root of this. It is difficult.
I'm not pretending.
No.
I truly believe
No,
that in this particular case,
you will not.
You don't think that all those people that are now homeless and their families are destroyed, you don't think that they are now
I think you have to make
Hamas
calculation.
again?
Of course, absolutely. That is going to
And we
happen.
got to kill him dead even harder. Thank you, Bill. Like Winkler's attitude here is just like not even born out of ideology, and it's just pure empathy. Okay, you don't have to be like a brilliant person. Not saying that Winkler isn't, right? But like you literally don't have to be the smartest, most well-read person to look at a situation like this and just be like, I think common sense in this circumstance implies that like if you lock people into this area and look at them, they're probably going to develop resentment towards you and want to fight their way out of that situation. Basic, super basic empathy. If anything, it's common sense, but if anything, it's actually ideology that oftentimes clouds that basic empathy. Ideology, on the other hand, is what is motivating Bill Maher in his refusal to acknowledge the humanity of Palestinians. Like, you don't have to be a scholar to look at a situation and be like, yeah, I feel like if you trap people into this situation, if you like back them into a corner and keep them and humiliating them and destroying their lives, like, and you show them that there's no way out of it, right? Like, they're probably going to inevitably fight back like you can at the top of the hour because there's a 3-minute ad break. And the way that you can get out of that corner is by subscribing for $6 or for free with a Twitch Prime. Just common sense. He's an Islamophobic, smarmy, disgusting POS. Yeah. He is also the quintessential, like, bi-coastal elitist, smarmy liberal. He is so annoying. My buddy who's not very political has a correct view on Israel-Palestine. However, going off the undercurrent of anti-Semitism, he thinks we can't criticize Israel's actions because of them being a Jewish state and the Holocaust. Tell him, as a Jew, I give him permission to criticize Israel for their actions. It is wild, though, because, like, he went from saying that, like, it is, if we're looking at this honestly, it is braver to, like, drive a plane into the Twin Towers. He said this on national television. He said, right after 9/11, mind you, like, at a time when it was probably the least appropriate thing to say. Like, I would not have said it, okay? Come on, that's crazy. He said, you know what's not brave? Lobbing cruise missiles from thousands of miles away. That's not brave. You might not agree with it, but it is brave to ram a plane into the Twin Towers. He said that. And that is what got him canceled. That actually got him canceled. For a year, he came back stronger than ever. Okay. Also, there's a 3-minute ad break now. But he did say that.
And you are also
So
recruiting.
you want to
okay, we're
every human being?
No. Is that what I said?
No, but I think it is what you were leading to.
No, it is certainly not what I'm leading to. What I'm saying
If
is,
you enough of them, we're going to end.
I didn't say that either.
I think you.
I like to think that this is also true. He only said that 9/11 because it was annoying. Like he thought, I will get a lot of people mad at me, and I love being annoying. Bro, they were still picking body parts out of the rubble when he said that, okay? It is a wild. I'm surprised he wasn't assassinated immediately after that, okay? Like,
no, I didn't. You
Okay.
said it.
You want to play it back?
Yeah, I
I
didn't.
didn't say.
that.
I did not say if you kill enough of them, that
No,
over.
what I said was the idea that you can't kill an idea.
Oh,
is-
that's what I said.
Yeah, that's what I was objecting to.
Right.
And I was quoting Sam talking
Right.
about the fact that
You
after
know, World War II, we
II,
did not kill ism.
yeah, we did.
We
Except
are-
for
own. Shut up. Sit your ass down. You just got schooled, okay? You got schooled. Winkler is 100% on the money. Shut your ass up, okay? An adult is talking. A knowledgeable adult is talking. The GOAT, the Fonz, okay? The Fonz is talking. Bill Maher said, yeah, we killed ism. Oh, really? Really? We did? That's crazy. Because if I recall correctly, if I know my American history, we definitely didn't do that. We exported a bunch of them, okay? We took a bunch of the scientists and we're like, yo, you guys are doing some sick work, okay? We're going to need to use this against the Russians, inevitably. That's number one, Operation Paperclip. Number two, the generals that were important members, like not even like the naysayers, okay? Like straight up all the way until the end, pro-Adolf generals became figureheads of NATO, okay? We put them in charge of West Germany, and then we put them in charge of NATO. So no, not only did we not eradicate ism as an ideology, we literally were like, actually, this is a really valuable tool that we can use against a much scarier problem, communism.
like a moment.
Look,
It's back almost in every country.
back in a tiny fringe.
No, it's not a tiny fringe, ass. The reason why he thinks this is because he also has a lot of Aryan attitudes. Okay? That's the problem. Like, he literally, first of all, we objectively did not denazify Germany. That's like not a thing that happened, right? But beyond that, if you were to look at like modern day fascism and act like it is not playing a prominent role in Western politics, you have to be at least somewhat sympathetic to the fascism, okay? Because if you're not, and I certainly am not, I look around and I'm like, holy, Adolf is so back, okay? Like, Donald Trump is running around being like, migrants are pests. Migrants are actually bringing in like diseases. They're eating your cats. They're raping your daughters. That's just like, that's you're directly paraphrasing at that point, okay? Which Donald Trump, I think, accidentally arrived at that, or at least was like just copy pasting what Stephen Miller was telling him, because I don't think he knows how to read, let alone read enough speeches to come up with immigrants are poisoning the blood of America, which is not even a paraphrasing of Adolf, is just Adolf. When Donald Trump said immigrants are poisoning the blood of our nation, as an illiterate man who does not know how to read, I truly believe he either heard that from Stephen Miller, okay, and repeated it, or B, which is the funnier outcome, came up with it on his own. You know, when you come up with a good idea and you know, like, and then you find out that like it existed already and you're like, wow, parallel thinking. I think that might have happened here. It's funny because apparently Bill Maher himself, if you can't call Trump a fascist, I don't know what fascism is. Yo, oh my God, he did this for January 6th. He was mad. He's such a he is literally the perfect lib. Okay? He is the perfect liberal, okay? The perfect liberal looks to like the anti-immigrant, anti-trans, like all these sentiments expressed towards marginalized communities and says, some of that is true. We need to listen to him, okay? But January 6th is the bridge too far for him. It's like, dude, the anti-trans stuff and the anti-migrant stuff is also directly Adolf, okay? Like if it took,
I mean, if you expect perfection,
I don't expect it
well,
perfection.
then it's a silly argument.
I believe. Well, that's not true.
Well,
But
it
I
is.
believe that we are going to experience another Kristallnacht, and could very well experience it here.
Well, there's a lot of anti-Semitism,
Ooh.
and that comes from people like.
Yeah, I see.
So, I mean, again, when you.
yeah, dude, is doing anti-Semitism in America. God, boomers are so stupid. Like, are you a German liberal? Like, what do you mean? A lot of anti-Semitism exists in American society and it's coming from, dude, there are blood and soil fascist and Trump supporters currently, when he was filming this, talking about how we have to purge the Haitians from Springfield, Ohio. And he's like, you know what's the likely outcome here? A insurrection that will inevitably end up, you know, causing a lot of anti-Semitic hatred. What are you saying? Like, it's not even, oh my God.
You think when you're a leader, you have to think long term.
Right.
If you don't know, they've prosecuted this war for 11 months as we're recording this in September
Right.
of 2024.
Like, bro, if there are literal protests happening all around the country, okay? All around the country, all the time. And you got the president saying, okay? And then you look to like they, them, non-binary, okay, septum piercing having English majors, who many of them are also Jewish, protesting against the Israeli at college campuses, and you go, that's the real anti-Semitism? You are such a freak. Like, you are so far removed from objective reality that I don't even know how we can have a normal conversation. Okay? Like, turn on Twitter and look to what people are saying on there for 3.5 seconds, and you will realize that, oh boy, anti-Semitism is popping right now. And no, it is not coming from the progressive anti-Israel and anti-Zionist protesters, okay? That is crazy. He has had Netanyahu on his show so many times. How are you surprised about this? No, I know how much of a writer for Israel he is.
So,
yeah, also all around the world, not even just like America, all around the world. You got the AfD in Germany. You got literal fascists in Italy in power. You have Le Pen in France. You have the reform movement in the UK. Does this not even remotely tick the holy, this is fascism, it's happening, box for you at all?
they're at the
You got
final
Modi. I forget Modi, of course.
stage. They're in the South. Yes, there are probably still, I don't know, 80, 90 hostages left.
Right. 100.
It's horrible to think
Right.
of the situation they've been in, and if we can't get
So
them
in
out.
other words-
Again, if I could just finish.
Yes.
Yeah, Viktor Orban, Donald Trump's favorite. Viktor Orban, he loves me. Gert Wilders. Viktor Orban is crazy. The worst part of this process is like the supposed like historical counterbalance is also a fascist of a different flavor. Like, that's the other side of the story. It's like, it's not like Russia itself is like prosecuting a liberatory struggle for the working class. Like, they're doing their own imperial ambitions. They're engaging in their own irredentist actions as well. So like, there isn't even a counterbalance to it. You look at Iran, okay, a regional actor, and Iran's own principles, especially in its own domestic affairs, is also inherently fundamentalist and awful and autocratic. Like, there's nobody out there. There's just no one. There's no one. There's no one out there that's like, hey man, this shit's up. There's no powerful force on the planet right now that is like, yo, a lot of this shit's up. You say, please save me, Xi, but like, they're way too invested in their own thing, okay? They're not engaging in any kind of like actual anti-fascist or even anti-capitalist momentum either. Okay, what about NATO? Dog, what do you mean, what about NATO? What about NATO? America is the top dog in this business. Who do you think is like the #1 bad guy on the planet? NATO! Well, that's why I'm voting for Joe Biden, because he did NATO.
Let's go right ahead.
You have to think in terms of long-term and numbers. Like those 100 people, we wouldn't want anyone to die, but what if we let off the hook and then it gets worse and 10,000 die? That's how.
10,000.
Well, in the future. In other words, if they are able to stage.
Dude, this is awesome. Like, it's not even, this is awesome. He's just like saying, okay, what about, like, what if every Jewish person is ethnically cleansed? That's why Israel has to continue is an insane argument to make. It is also exactly the same argument he made, okay, about the Jews. He's like, if we don't ethnically cleanse all the Jews, they're going to ethnically cleanse us, is also the same insane that it said, okay? Holy, it's crazy. If you want to perish in prominence and in influence, okay, then you have to eliminate that's it. If the goes away, then there is no resistance to the. This is a reality that not only Henry Winkler, but also Yoav Gallant and Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari and many other Israeli military generals also recognize, not the part, but at least that like is not this is not just a group of people that are like, I'm a card carrying member of, like, it is simply the idea born out of the principle that human beings do not want to be subjugated to and humiliated and killed endlessly and ceaselessly. That's why they say you can't militarily find a solution. That's why they say that. The only military solution to would be full-blown ethnic cleansing. That's it. Okay?
More attack.
I see. 10,000 more Israelis.
You've gone this far for 11 months. And my question to people who have this argument is always, do you know what's going on really underneath in all the tunnels and how close they are?
I do not know.
I don't either. But you know who does know? The Israeli Defense Force. Now.
Oh, yeah. No, they're the position of authority. They know better. Of course, typical liberal Democrat. Oh, Kamala Harris cannot possibly have bad instincts. They just know better. That's why they're moving in a certain direction. Liberals love thinking that they are intellectually superior to like MAGA people, right? And in some respects, like their empathy on a lot of issues, as long as the Democratic Party is not positioning themselves against said issues, is on the right side of history. Okay? But they have the exact same fundamental, almost Mormon style, like attitude towards positions of authority that like the MAGA people have. Which, well, they must know better. They must know better. They know they're the adults. They know better. I trust them. Israel's in the children's playground and then took a photo of a sewage cesspit to claim it's a tunnel. Look at this photo and compare it to the photos in the post below. They are the same thing. They're admitting to literal heinous work. Yeah. Many Gazan families living in areas that lack infrastructure resort to digging wells several meters deep into the ground to drain wastewater, an old method that was widespread throughout the Strip in the past. It's a well. Wasn't Bill Maher like anti-Iraq war? Am I crazy? Am I misremembering that? Maybe.
Are they perfect? Absolutely not. But again, they're not the ones purposely civilians. They try not to civilians. If you can't understand
Get the out of here, dude. You're an idiot.
that difference morally, then you're very morally confused.
Are you watching the same footage I'm watching?
You think they are trying to civilians?
I think that it is.
That's what war is.
Okay.
War becomes that. There is no war you can name that didn't. Sherman burned Atlanta to the ground, and it wasn't just the military people he was. It's a shame, but again, there's a very simple solution to this. Stop attacking Israel.
Right.
Jews used to know this.
Right. Okay.
Still love you.
I love you.
Okay.
I have no judgment about your point of view.
Great, and I not of yours.
I disagree a little bit with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't think that the head of Israel at this moment is a soulful human being.
That may be true too. I didn't say he wasn't, and I didn't say even that he might not be doing what you suggested he might be doing. What I was saying is, even if those things are true, it could also be true that this is the correct policy, which I believe it is. I think you've gone 11 months to do this. Let's finish it while we're there.
Okay, how does it finish? Tell me that.
How does it finish?
Yes.
Is there a...
What do you see?
Is that you have extirpated enough of that some other...
By the way, When I was gone, I heard Winkler say fucking amazing, and I kind of want to go back to it where he goes, "Are you seeing the same things that I'm seeing?"
Great, and I not of yours. And it wasn't just no
Scrimmage. I'm watching.
then you're very morally
I
confused.
have
Are
to.
you watching the same footage I'm watching?
He's like, it's like there's nothing else you can say. It's like, are you insane? Like, are you mentally there? Because this is one of the most shocking things. At this point, you have to be deliberately avoiding the truth. You know what I mean? Like, or you just enjoy it. Like, you see the carnage and you enjoy it and you justify it in your mind. Because, like, someone like Bill Maher, I don't think he has not seen what is going on. You know what I mean? Like, I could say that about like some guy who's like, who's the president? I don't know. You know, there's plenty of guys like that out there, right? The undecided voters, the median voter who's like, who's this Trump guy? Tell me more about him. They watch the Aiden Ross stream and go, what's up with this Trump guy? Who is he again? Okay. Maybe there's a guy like that out there. And that guy probably hasn't seen anything. Okay. Like, totally different planet that they're existing on. They do not see a single damn thing. And even if they saw it, they wouldn't understand it. Okay. Bill Maher is not like that guy. He's tapped in. He has producers. He has a show talking about, you know, popular culture. There are things on this planet that are worse than what Israel's doing to the Palestinians. Okay. But I don't think any of those instances are as like entitled and as arrogant and as in your face, if that makes sense. No, there are, come on guys, there are horrifying atrocities that occur all around the planet, right? It's just that it's never like this prominently featured and has this level of like protection from the people with the most power. Like Sudan comes to mind, you know what I mean? Rohingya, right? Like there are definitely like higher numbers of people being slaughtered even, right? The difference, however, is that no one looks at that and goes like, oh no, that's actually super cool. We love that. Does that make sense? That's what I mean. It's not only being conducted with like our direct involvement in terms of weapons, in terms of our targeting systems, right? In terms of our tax dollars directly subsidizing it, but also like Saudi Arabia and the UAE did it in Yemen, right? Throughout, it started under the Obama administration and absolutely accelerated to its worst degree under the Trump administration. It was the United States backed it. It was our weapons. It was our targeting systems. We did that, right? But like, there wasn't this level of like bipartisan consensus on like the continuation of the Saudi Arabia. Like, people would be like, Saudi Arabia is conducting it in Yemen, and people would go, yeah, that's up. Like, Bill Maher, I don't think at that point would be like, well, actually, the Ansar Allah administration deserve it because our brave, bold Saudi allies are doing the right thing. Like, it wasn't like he would never do that for Saudi Arabia. He'd probably be really conflicted because they're Muslims on both sides. You know, I don't think he cares about this the Shia Sunni divide to that degree. So, like, he would never defend Saudi Arabia. Like, MBS at most could do like a charm offensive and go to the Atlantic and, you know, get positive coverage at Fox News. But he's not like speaking to the American Congress, right? And being like, you know, bow down to me. I have the oil. Which would make even a little bit more sense because at least like Saudi Arabia has a natural resource that is an absolute necessity for our, you know, continued global dominance. That even makes a little bit more sense if Saudi Arabia got to do that, but Israel wouldn't, because like Israel is not a state without the United States of America, but somehow we are still made servile in that moment to Benjamin Netanyahu's grace, you know? But ultimately, for him, or rather for me, the way I look at it is like, it's not only horrifying against humanity that are happening every single day, okay? But it's like not even like our association with it is so direct, even more direct than Saudi Arabia conducting it in Yemen, right? That's what it is. That's what's like so unique about this predicament. Like at the end of the day, there's this attitude where you're like, well, Saudi Arabia is already a theocratic monarchy, right? Like most Americans don't have a positive opinion of Saudi Arabia. Whereas like most Americans did have a positive opinion of Israel, thought it was a Western democracy, thought it was like, you know, the most moral nation on the planet. So when they try to keep that image up while doing like horrifying things on a daily basis with like pure vitriol, and then you still have, we're supposed to be these like adults, these like progressive people, just caping for that kind of death and destruction. It's like genuinely shocking.
You think they are trying to civilians?
I think that it is.
That's what war is.
Okay.
War becomes that. There is no war you can name that didn't. Sherman burned Atlanta to the ground.
Yeah, the problem is Israel is a belligerent occupier. There is never a war like this, because this is not a war. It's a what war do you have where the belligerent on one side literally has the exact zip code and phone number of every single person whose house they're like? Do you think Americans had that? Do you think Americans had like a way of communicating to the Germans when they were doing Dresden? Like, hey, you need to leave your house. We're going to, like, they knew every single place where like civilians were living. Do you think that that's what happened? No, because it wasn't, because at most, although that was a war, which is why we literally changed the rules for the record after the fact, because they were like, that was not great. What we did there wasn't great. We should probably never do it again. Okay. Which is crazy that people like defend that too, which is wild. But like, what is extra crazy in this circumstance is that Israel is not the same as any other version of that, with the exception of the Holocaust. Like, that's it. These are people who are captive. They are held captive in an area that they cannot leave voluntarily. And they're being relentlessly, in the areas that they claim they're not going to, anyway, in the areas they claim they're not going to, it actually gets smaller and smaller. Oh, Julian Field, thank you for the raid. Hope you had a good stream. And even before like the areas got smaller and smaller, they knew exactly where people lived, and they were using AI to target people. And they had an alerting process where a person that this AI has declared a militant would come home, and they would purposefully him and his family when they got home. Okay? There is nothing that you can compare this to. Okay? There's nothing you can compare this to throughout history. There's nothing you can compare this to in modern day. There's nothing you can compare this to throughout history. The Saudi-Yemen conflict isn't really religio-sectarian. The Houthis are Zaidi Shia, which are very close to Sunnis, such that radical Salafists claim that they are Muslim. It's a different Shia sect than what is in Iran, which is Ithna Ash'ari, which radical Salafis view as the worst disbelievers on the planet, since they see them as destroying Islam from within, in their eyes worse than America and Israel law. I know, I wasn't saying that it was a religious conflict. I didn't consider that to be a religious conflict. I was just simply making a joke about Bill Maher not knowing, like, you know, the different sects within Islam or caring about the differences.
Ground. And it wasn't just the military people he was. It's a shame. But again, there's a very simple solution to this. Stop attacking Israel.
Right.
Jews used to know this.
Right. Okay.
Still love you.
I love you.
Okay.
I have no judgment about your point of view.
Great. And I not of yours.
I don't think he agrees with him at all. Judging by what he said in the first 6 minutes and 42 seconds of this conversation, I think it just seems like he's just trying to stop talking about this.
Disagree.
Maybe I'm reading too much into it. That's cowardly from Henry. No, dog. He's like a 70-year-old Hollywood actor. Okay? He is practicing what I wish cops would on a regular basis, called de-escalation. Okay? He noticed at a certain point, I think, around here, when he said, you must not be seeing the same things I'm seeing, that he was not talking to a man, but a brick wall. And he was like, well, there's not really anything else I can say to a brick wall. A dude who is
a little bit with what you're saying.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't think that the head of Israel at this moment is a soulful human being.
That may be true too. I didn't say he wasn't, and I didn't say even that he might not be doing what you suggested he might be doing. What I was saying is even if those things are true, it could also be true that this is the correct policy.
But Bill, of course, does not want to stop. Bill's like, no, 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 let's dive back into it. What did he mean by Jews used to know this? I don't even know what aspect of Hasbara he's engaging in that situation.
Policy, which I believe it is. I think you've gone 11 months to do this. Let's finish it while we're there.
Okay, how does it finish? Tell me that.
How does it finish?
Yes.
Is there a
What do you
is that
see?
you have extirpated enough of that some other entity can be brought in to.
Damn. Hassan Nasrallah waiting room. Salafis don't say we are Muslims either, bro. I don't know where you're getting your info from. Your Zaidi. Yes, normal Salafis don't takfir us, but militant ones do because they even takfir Sunnis. Interesting. Hassan Nasrallah is Ithna Ashari, so I'm a little surprised. That being said, see the channel of Asim Al-Hakim. He's the most prominent Salafi YouTube figurehead. He says that as long as you don't believe in infallible imams, Shia still count as Muslim. It totally is just exclusionary towards Ithna Asharis. Y'all are nerds, dude. I don't even care about the intricacies this much. I don't think most normal Muslims care about the intricacies of this type of... What the... Like, I've literally never in my life met a Muslim and just been like, oh, are you Shia? What sect of Shia Islam do you believe? I mean, you can kind of tell if someone is a Salafist, like you know, there's a vibe, and that's not really a conversation I'm having in any circumstance, regardless. But like beyond that, I don't think anybody gives a, you know what I mean? This is normal. These people are losers. This is not normal. Okay. Normal Muslims don't know anything about Islam, though, is also true. But I mean, what normal religious person or not religious person, but still says they're Christian, knows everything about their religion anyway?
Who ruled that country?
Right.
Because that was always a coiled snake.
Right.
Right at the foot of Israel.
Right.
You can't live like that.
Right.
Okay. There's only one side in this who wants a two-state solution. That would be at least part of Israel.
For us uneducated, what says what's going on right now from the Holocaust? I mean, the only difference is that the numbers, that's it. Like the numbers. That's basically it. The scale of the atrocity, because the mechanization of the slaughter is identical. Like obviously Germans used concentration camps and like engaged in, like, it's still, I would say what Israel's doing is still industrial scale slaughter. So at that point, it's the difference between like trapping people into and moving them into a camp and them inside of the camp versus trapping them in smaller and smaller areas as you like slowly but surely destroy everything around them. It gives a little bit more, it gives an air of like plausible deniability almost in an effort to continue doing it. One, we don't know the true death rate. Two, the Holocaust didn't occur in 7 months. Still, do you think the intent is to exterminate the Palestinian people? Exterminate in the sense of like, do you mean like every single Palestinian there? No, I think the intent is to make it as unlivable as possible with potentially, if lucky, a small Bantustan that resembles the West Bank inevitably, with a lot of the Palestinians being forcibly moved to the Sinai Desert, like forcible expulsion and displacement. Yeah, industrial as a tool of ethnic cleansing. Yes, it would still be ethnic cleansing. But if you're asking about like, which is still, by the way, but if you're asking about like the distinction of like, are they trying to every single Palestinian right now? The answer is no, they're not. They objectively are not every single Palestinian right now. What they're trying to do is make it as uninhabitable as possible, with the sole purpose of like moving as many of them as possible when it all is said and done to a different area outside of the Strip, and then maintain a permanent military occupation in parts that they've destroyed, only to rebuild it and resettle it with Jewish people. The end goal is still absolutely to render the idea of a Palestinian state impossible, which they've already successfully done in the West Bank, at least the way that it looks like right now. And I think that they want to do that in as well. with the ultimate goal of just like expelling as many Palestinians as possible from the area. They don't want to ruin the land because they want it for themselves. Oh, brother, they are ruining the land. No, they're definitely ruining the land. They don't give a They've done it before. They don't care about that. So more like a trail of tears. Yes. Armenian trail of tears. Like there are plenty of examples throughout history. Yeah. Here. This is Rafa before and after Biden's red line, chat. This is supposed to be, this was the safe zone. The New York Times wants you to rest easy with the knowledge that the person in Israel wasn't really an American, with Turkish flags flying and chants of God is great resounding throughout the cemetery. Ayşenur Ezgi, a Turkish-American activist by Israeli forces in the West Bank, was laid out to rest on a Saturday in town on Turkey's Aegean coast. Although she moved to the United States as a toddler, acquired citizenship, and spent most of her life here, the funeral for Miss Ezgi, 26, was deeply Turkish and profoundly pro-Palestinian. Hundreds of people, many carrying Palestinian flags and wearing Palestinian scarves, gathered at the central mosque in the town of Didim to say prayers for her, including senior Turkish officials. No American officials attended, and there was not an American flag in sight. Thank you, New York Times, for honoring the memory of an American citizen of Turkish descent by erasing that aspect of her identity, despite the fact that you also readily recognize that she spent most of her life here. It feels great as a Turkish American myself, who is also pro-Palestinian, to know that if one day I am assassinated by the Israeli state or something happens and there's any kind of media from the gray lady, the paper of record, that this will probably be a similar site. This is one of the weirdest stories because of like obviously how like the closeness I experience, the closeness I feel. It's just, you know, this is what you're talking about when you say there are limits to your white passing. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder why they didn't fly the American flag at her funeral. Perhaps it has something to do with the fact that America's vassal state assassinated her. Even CNN wrote a better article than the New York Times. No, New York Times is like, dude, I'm telling you right now, New York Times on every other issue is like, they have defensible positions, they have indefensible positions. It is the worst. They are worse than Fox News for one key reason. Everybody knows what Fox News is. Everybody expects Fox News to be unhinged. People do not expect the paper of record to utilize their objective air of credibility to do the bidding of the state to this degree. Okay? That's the problem. You think it's on purpose? Yes, absolutely. This is actually a good comparison. Exactly. Just ask trans people. They're ragging on us is so much more painful than Fox News or New York Post. Exactly. Because the expectation from New York Post is that they're going to write articles about like a Haitian guy getting into a minor traffic accident with no injuries. But when it's the New York Times writing about Haitian migrants with similar terminology, all of a sudden that has an air of seriousness to it. What do you think the New York Times angle is? Advertisers, Jewish employees, access to politicians. I'm willing to bet that the Jewish employees of the New York Times are significantly more than whatever the editor-in-chief is going off on. Okay? I know a lot of New York Times journalists. There's brilliant people there, okay? We met a New York Times journalist. He interviewed me. That interview never made it to print. But he interviewed me. Did he come across as like someone who is an ultra-Zionist to you? No, he didn't to me. Very smart guy. Sometimes you have to understand, especially when you're, yeah, no, he's great. He was dope. What you need to understand is sometimes the journalist is not the final, like in many instances, actually, in a paper like the New York Times, in most papers, in most teams, behind the scenes, the editorial board controls and has a lot more to do with the way that certain things are framed, certain issues are framed, certain angles are taken. If Palestinians were Jewish and the U.S. aligned settlers were Muslim, the U.S. and the New York Times would be backing the Muslims. It's about empire, not religion. Yes, but I think even a better argument there, because that seems so impossible because of the war on terror. People don't have the capacity to understand that. Yeah, the top of these news companies are run by people who have large goals of pushing American global hegemony. The people on the ground are normally in it for the love of journalism. Yeah. The thing is, the better argument that I make all the time is that if every single American Jew turned around and fucking said, enough is enough, not in our name, we do not want you to do this shit, you're out of your fucking mind, we're all anti-Zionists. If every single American Jew, 6 million, 7 million American Jews living in the United States tomorrow were like, we're all anti-Zionist, we're done with this shit, nothing would change in terms of America's analysis of the situation. It has nothing to do with Judaism. They would be ignored, just like the many Jews that are ignored or directly arrested at the fucking pro-Palestinian protests right now. They would still keep saying it's anti-Semitic to not be in support of Israel. They would, like, you would have Christian Zionist newspaper editors turn around and literally fucking write articles about how anti-Semitic American Jews are. Okay? That's it. They'd be like, these self-hating Jews, why do they not know? Why do they not know what the truth is? That, you know, you are not safe here if Israel didn't exist. Which is, at that point, more of a threat or maybe even a promise, you know? Yeah, the only Jewish member of parliament opposed the Balfour Declaration, written by an anti-Semitic guy, by the way. Let history demonstrate that no one gave a fuck. Nope. I mean, look at this conversation. You got a fucking dude who was raised Catholic telling an old Jewish man what's what about Israel, being like, no, Israel is conducting the most moral affair here, okay? He's like, are you serious? Like, I see dead children on my timeline. It's fucking unimaginably gross. And he's like, shut the fuck up, man. I know better than you. You're wrong. Jews used to know this. Why don't Jews know this? It's like, okay, Bill.
Maybe not everybody in Israel, but that they've certainly offered that many times. Hamas has been very plain. They do not want a two-state solution. They want a solution where all the Jews die. Again, Jews used to be kind of on the page that this is a bad thing. Again, we can disagree.
No, I think the Jews are on the page that it's a bad thing.
Well, you're, okay, let's just say, and I'm not even a Jew.
Right.
But let's just say you're more equivocal about it than I am.
You are an atheist.
Yes.
That's right, sure.
Yes. And I went and we made the movie Religulous. We spent 10 days in Israel,
right.
in all over.
Right.
I mean, and it was fascinating and eye-opening, and I'm
right.
so glad I did it.
Right.
And
I learned nothing from the experience other than the fact that I am Israel Chai.
Historic.
He's not a Jew, Chad. He's not. Apparently his mother is of Jewish descent, but he was raised Catholic. He's an atheist now, but like, I didn't know this either, to be honest. Like, I did not. I always assumed he was some fucking drunk Irish asshole. Or sorry, his father was Jewish? I thought his mother was.
I also find Israel to be one of the most delicious countries I've ever been to.
You're talking about Gal Gadot?
I'm talking about that great, delicious food.
Oh,
that is
delicious
Israeli.
Food. The
delicious
Jews?
Food. Yes.
Oh, I missed that.
You did.
I mean, I don't really remember the food. You know,
Bill's like, it was too Arab for my taste. Bill's like, actually, I hated it because I'm that Islamophobic. I'm so Islamophobic that I do not even consider Jewish food to be Jewish food in and of itself. I consider it to be Arab, which is automatically Muslim. I hate it.
You know what I remember so vividly, and it was like, oh, such a...
Hey, thanks for watching.